Hello, this is Dr. Flight. Hope you're doing well. This video lecture today is focused on target audiences. And here in marketing, one of the transitions that's happened over a long period of time has been a transition away from being organizational focused and being towards and transition towards being customer or client focused or having a market focus. Sometimes we call this a market orientation. And the idea here is that we want to allow market forces or the customer or clients, we want them to help inform us in terms of like the decisions we're going to make moving forward for the firm. The general idea here is we want to spend less time focused on the firm in terms of our motivation for purpose, our motivation for the products and services that we offer and so forth. And we want to spend more time on letting the target audience or the market, the customer, be able to direct our attention as opposed to having our attention drawn internally. So that's what this lecture today is about, and hope you enjoy, but we're looking at the customer-focused organization. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Alrighty, so as we focus moving forward, an idea in marketing, at least today, in today's business environment, is that firms want to be directed and influenced by their customers, their clients, and external stakeholders. So a big challenge for organizational managers is to allow the client to have input in terms of their organizational behavior and how the firm or not-for-profit operates, and listening to the customer, listening to the voice of the customer, and allowing that voice to drive a lot of their decisions. So audience-centered or target-centered nonprofits believe that they exist to serve the client. They don't exist to serve themselves. They don't exist to simply fulfill a purpose, but they exist to satisfy the customer or client's needs. So again, this term voice of the customer or VOC is something that comes up a lot in marketing. And we want to listen to the voice of the customer to deliver what the customer is interested in. So the organization then is defined by client markets, and it's not defined by its own processes or products or services. That's the focus of an audience-centered nonprofit. The nonprofit is much more aware then of its place among competitors, and it's much more focused on how its solutions benefit the customer relative to what the competition will deliver as well. Okay, so that's the focus of an audience-centered nonprofit, and you can compare this to an organizational centered nonprofit, and they're like night and day. They're totally different types of focuses because of how they view their customers. Okay, so we're going to have a series of 6 different kind of points, I guess, or illustrations of an audience-centered nonprofit. The first of which, though, is they have their focus and their measures and their metrics, and their operational guidelines will be client-based and client behavior-based. Those will be what drive the success of the organization. So the organization may say, like for instance, how many clients did we help change today? How many clients did we help with their problem today? Not so much like how many units did we produce or how many meals did we make? It's not that. It's how many people did we help today, as opposed to how many meals we made. So at the end of the day, marketers in this context want to influence behavior, and they'll use audience-centered elements to track usage, track patronage, and measure the behavior as a measure of their success. It won't be measured, their success won't be measured by internal production. It'll be measured by external actual service that they're providing their clients. All right, number two. So that was number one. Number two, managerial focus won't be on employees, the organization, or even the cause, but the audience or the individuals that they benefit. So this kind of extends number one. Number one was we're going to measure our performance based on the consumer number or the client. Number two is we're going to place our emphasis and our focus not internally, but again, externally. So the motivation then for the nonprofit is going to be on the client. So our decision-making processes, our strategy formation, the planning and our operations, all of these things then are going to be developed for the context of the audience, and it's going to be in context of who we serve. So that's number two. Number three is the adoption of marketing research. So we've kind of talked about this in other videos where market research is a tool and it's not something that we should be afraid of. So this is going to come up again. Remember here that market research, yeah, it can be a little intimidating if you're not a market numbers person or whatever, but it shouldn't be. All managers of an organization need to be able to use some information, some numbers, some whatever feedback to make decisions. So market research then again is information about the market, and what we want to do, it's very, very straightforward. We want to, in a non-threatening way, gather information, organize it, interpret it, and then use that information to make decisions. That's what we do with market research. And like it or not, the reality is you need to use it to be the best organization that you can. And if you think about it, the way we hear the voice of the customer is by doing market research. We ask the customer what they want, and that's called market research. So if you're not doing market research, then you're not listening to your customer and you're too internally focused. It's basically the bottom line as far as that goes. All right, number four. Markets need to be broken up into segments. So one of the challenges here is organizations sometimes think of their market in too broad of a term. So what we want to do is go through a process called segmentation. And then we ultimately want to focus on groups of consumers that we can serve. So segmenting is a process for systematically defining groups, and in this case they'd be our clients or customers, and we define them in terms of how they behave relative to our service that we're going to give, that we're going to offer. So we regroup consumers into groups that have similarities with each other. Then we choose which groups we're going to serve, and then we take our service or our product and we bring it to them. That's called positioning. We create a specific plan designed to create desire among different market segments that we have specifically targeted. So in marketing, we have a three-step process here. This is part of strategic marketing, and it's in the planning process of every marketing plan, but we do what's called STP, segmenting, targeting, positioning. And so this is a very strategic, planned, focused approach to deciding who we're going to serve, and so that we can serve that population the best that we possibly can. Okay, number five, competition is acknowledged and included in a non-profit planning process. So in other words, when we create a plan, we recognize that we're not the only solution, that there are other solutions out there, and that there are competitors out there, and we need to recognize that our clients have many choices to solve their need, and we are only one of those. We're not the only one, we're one of them. So even though we talk about competition like in a for-profit arena, like market share, and we want to, try to serve, more people than our competitors and all this stuff. Well, the same principles carry over into the nonprofit world. We might not think of competition in quite the same context, but if a client has a choice to use our services or use another service, there are competitive pressures that are there. The American Red Cross, for instance, is in competition with an organization called Civitan. There's Civitan Blood Services and American Red Cross Blood Services, and they both look to, um, get donations for blood donors, and they're in direct competition in a lot of markets. And so um, these are competitive pressures. Both of these organizations compete with medical laboratories who do plasma donations, blood plasma donations, which is a different type of donation. But if you're donating plasma, you can't donate blood. So, I mean, it's a different thing. So there are lots of competitive pressures out there um, among nonprofits. Think about symphonies, think about art museums, think about musical groups and things like that. Right. So competition comes from a lot of places, existing and direct competitors, new competitors that don't quite exist yet but are forming, and then something that we call substitutes. So a product that would be used in place of yours, but it's not a direct competitor of yours. Audience-centered firms have to understand that their audience could be served by other solutions. And they are not the only ones that can provide the solution, but there are lots of options customers have. Okay, so yeah, that's an audience-centered piece as well. All right, so number 6 then, marketing then as a function needs to be utilized. So there are lots and lots and lots of pieces and parts and things that marketers do. We do not just create awareness. We do not just motivate. We do product development, service development. We do service after the sale. We do customer relationship management. We do pricing. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that we do as marketers. And so the whole complement of what the marketing function does needs to be implemented. We don't just advertise. If you're only advertising and that's what you call marketing, then you're wrong. That's not what it is. You're falling short and you're not using all the power that marketing has to offer to effectively change behavior. So that's a shortfall that a lot of nonprofit managers have because they don't have a business background sometimes. They don't really understand business, and as a result, that's a challenge. So broadly speaking, then marketers seek to provide a solution to a problem, and they have many, many tools to do so. Marketing, therefore, it's not just promotions, not just gimmicks, not just flashy attractions. It's a science, and it's a skill, and it's something that we want to use all the tools that we have in the marketing toolbox, not just one or two of them. Okay, so moving forward then. Oh, this is out of date. So there's no starting with number 6, I guess. How crazy is that? We have 6 things then that highlight an organization or a customer centered. Get that out of there. That should be customer or audience centered nonprofit. Okay. Marketing is a function and is fully utilized to best serve customers. Marketing is, we focus on measuring the client's behavior, and that is what drives the audience-centered firm. Okay, so that was number. We're going a little out of order here and there, but that's okay. The managers in the audience-focused nonprofit focus on decisions that will impact the audience as opposed to decisions that will impact the firm. And when we say audience, again, remember we're talking clients and customers, right? Market research is a focus. It's done. We use segmenting, targeting, and positioning, STP. We use those as a strategic tool to define our market as opposed to simply just like looking too broadly at the market and defining it too broadly. And then finally listed here, competition is acknowledged and included in the nonprofit planning process. Okay, so breaking it down here, we want to be target audience centered. We want to be client-centered. We want the client to drive our decision-making processes. We want to measure success by our client. In order to do all this, we have to do market research, and we need to define our market really, really, really well and strategically. Okay, so follow these 6 items. Look for these 6 items in a not-for-profit, and if you see them, then they are following a target audience-centered approach. Alrighty, so let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you enjoyed this short discussion on what is all about to be audience-centered. All right, thanks.